It was an abnormally warm December day. Spirits were high as the town was getting ready for the Twilight Christmas Parade. Storms began moving in. The recommendation was made that they cancel the parade. Tornado warning sirens go off twice.
Tornado on the ground.
The calls are coming in faster than we can answer.
My house is shut here.
An EF3 tornado devastates the town. One of 28 to touch down throughout the state.
You can start to hear the wind pick up. You can just hear glass shattering throughout the house.
Over 700 properties were damaged. Millions in losses between residential and commercial properties in the county.
I don't cry at all, but at that time, I came close to it. I wanted to break down.
1 year later, $24 million in rebuilding and recovery costs, and Taylorville remains strong. Welcome to Taylorville Tornado 1 year later, December 1st of 2018. It's hard to believe it's been 1 year already, but at the same time, there's been so much progress made here across the city of Taylorville. Good evening, I am Doug Quick, and it was very personal to me because this not only is my hometown, but the neighborhood that I lived in was devastated by this tornado. Now, this was the home that I grew up in, and it's been redone. New roof, new siding, new windows. You could hardly tell anything occurred, but there's still a lot of work to be done in other areas, and we're going to visit each one of those areas as well. We began by going to Hewitttville. This was ground zero. This is in Hewitttville, in the southern part of the community known as Taylorville. And that tornado touched down just a couple of blocks south of here near Illinois Route 48. From there, right across the street from where I am, homes were literally knocked off their foundations. We had a home here on the corner, completely devastated. It was gone. There was a garage behind it. The car was still in the garage, but there was no garage. Meanwhile, there was a mobile home behind it that was actually picked up and flipped over twice. A woman was trapped inside, and she was finally rescued. From here in Hewitttville, that storm continued to progress into southern Taylorville. The corner of Waco and Power Street here on Taylorville's south side. This particular neighborhood hit exceptionally hard. A home here in front of us devastated for months, and that's the way it sat for months before it was finally cleared. Meanwhile, homes here to my left, all down this particular block, 1, 2, 3 homes not being replaced and completely devastated from the storm. The others, still a work in progress. After the devastating tornado of December 1st of 2018, here in Taylorville, work has been progressing. It's slow, it's difficult at times, but there is progress being made. Symphony Sherman will be taking a look at how it was 1 year ago and how things have changed.
I've been covering the Taylorville tornado since day one. Now just take a look at this video. This is the aftermath right after it happened. Now I went back 6 months later, and this is what I witnessed. You can see still heavy damage. Now, it's been a year since the tornado touched down. I decided to go back to Taylorville and see the progress once again. And look at this. Homes are built, and there has been a lot of progress made. It's honestly unbelievable.
Tornado on the ground.
The calls are coming in faster than we can answer.
You didn't even know where we was at, really. I mean, you couldn't identify nothing.
This storm shelter saved Randy Crowder and his family's life on December 1st when an EF3 tornado tore through Taylorville. But it didn't save his home. Just take a look at this footage from immediately after.
Been a battle. I mean, every day we're fixing something.
I visited Randy 6 months after the tornado hit. This is how his property looked. Better, but still a long way to go. A year later, and I went back to see him, and the difference was unbelievable.
It's been like 10 years, it seems to me.
740 structures damaged from the storm. 700 of those were homes, 50 to 60 of those suffering major damage or a total loss. Around 40 businesses damaged, 4 of those severely damaged.
As you know, the first week or two I worked nonstop, probably 16 to 18 hours a day, going out in the community and seeing what we could do.
The city of Taylorville started the cleanup process immediately after the tornado struck. There were floodlights throughout the neighborhood so people could remove debris. Tree services all over central Illinois volunteering their equipment. After that, it was time to rebuild.
There's a few vacant lots, and I think those people are either waiting on their insurance to decide whether they're going to rebuild in a certain place or maybe they're going to move elsewhere. But I don't think anybody really has left the community because of the disaster.
And half of the houses destroyed have been rebuilt. One issue homeowners have encountered is the fact there were so many people that needed help, so some people are now just starting to rebuild since contractors weren't available.
Mayor Berry says it's going to take at least another year to complete the rebuilding process. We're talking with Taylorville Mayor Bruce Berry. A year and a half into your term, you have this catastrophic event happen in your town. How was that handled?
Well, I think we did pretty well. The progression that we're seeing right now in this area is really good, and like I said, I wasn't prepared for that at all, but I think I handled it pretty well and had a lot of help along the way.
What are some of your memories that day and what was actually done?
I got a phone call from Chief Cruz that the tornado had struck, and I said, well, I'll be at the firehouse shortly. This was about 5:45 that evening. I was unaware of all the damage. I drove straight into town. There was a little bit of damage on the square, but I went to the firehouse and spent the next 8 or 9 hours there.
How do you think Taylorville was done?
I believe real well. There's still a lot of work to do, but we got, enormous support from the surrounding communities and even neighbor to neighbor support.
What's the message you would like to send to Taylorville citizens at this point?
Just the work's not done yet. We're still collecting donations through our Missions for Taylorville.
Mayor Bruce Berry, we were fellow alumni of the Taylorville High School system, and it was so good to talk to you today, and continued success. And coming up, we return to my old neighborhood here as we continue the Taylorville tornado 1 year later.
So I'm thankful for Missions for Taylorville that helped people that didn't have insurance out. Thankful for a community that kind of came together and helped out.
That I still have a roof over my head.
Coming up on the Taylorville Tornado 1 year later special, we tell your stories of survival and rebuilding, and we hear from city officials about what it meant to keep Taylorville strong.
Keep praying for each other, keep leaning on each other. Don't turn anybody down if they're willing to help you, and that's whether that's financially or coming raking debris out of your yard or helping pick up pieces.
On November 17th, 2013, at around 11 a.m., an EF4 tornado destroyed Washington, Illinois, killing 3 people, injuring 125, and damaging over 1,000 homes. While recovering from a disaster may seem like a mountain to climb, Mayor Menier says the recovery is rewarding. Ever since that EF3 tornado tore through town, we've been in Taylorville telling your stories. Reporter Haiti Clotter caught up with a few residents and joins us now. Haiti?
I remember when it first happened, and it seemed like it was going to be forever till we actually got to live in our house.
December 1st, 2018 is the day that many Taylorville residents like Brandon Lawrence can't forget.
The feeding and, when it first happened, it's like, is this real? Like, at first I was kind of skeptical.
It was also move-in day for the Lawrences. Now it's a memory that hasn't faded for his young daughter, Aubrey Lawrence.
Scary. It was very, very loud.
Aubrey had to grow up fast and be strong for her little sister, Jocelyn.
I was just hugging her after it hit.
Although his home was damaged, Brandon tells me he was one of the lucky ones.
There was one across the street that was literally, looked like Moses split the Red Sea, like it was literally split in half.
The plan was always to rebuild.
I guess it always felt like home since then, but especially even after the case, like we put a lot of work into it, even during the time we weren't living here.
Brandon says he was fortunate to officially move in 4 months after the tornado.
Within the last month, we pretty much got everything we really need finished up.
The tornado makes Brandon appreciate some of the little things.
The yard's done finally. We actually have grass now, which is nice.
As he looks back to a year later, he's grateful.
Honestly, it went by a lot faster than expected, and I still see a lot of people that don't have their homes fixed or they're still in the process of getting their homes fixed.
And doesn't take anything for granted.
Definitely thankful to be alive. Definitely thankful for the support system we have. Thankful for family, friends. It's been helpful through the whole process.
Cleanup after a devastating tornado is not child's play. It requires a lot of effort and a lot of equipment. Tell me a little bit about maybe one of the most shocking things that you found when you first hit the streets to actually do some cleanup.
Yeah, one of the most shocking things for me at least was, driving down streets that we work on every day, and then when you go back down them and there's no lights on because all the power was off, and you have, houses that are off roof and trampolines from backyards and pools and stuff like that. That was probably one of the most shocking things for me.
And about how many trucks did you have, Chile?
Well, there's one day we had about pretty close to 100, I think it was, but then that was the most, but it died down after that, but it probably about 50 for weeks, or a week or two.
A week or two at least after that, yeah.
What were some of the issues that you dealt with from the actual storm?
From the storm, we're still working on the tree cleanup. A lot of debris that people are still coming up, picking up a lot of the trees from the tornado, tearing up our roads and our vehicles. These guys have did a tremendous job. I can't say enough for these guys of what they've did.
All right, Mike, Dustin, Blake, thank you for being with us.
I'm most thankful that everybody was okay. Really, I'm just happy nobody was seriously hurt or died.
I thank to everybody. After 3 months, everybody coming back. I really appreciate that. They give me back business.
Coming up next, they've been central in coordinating the repairing and rebuilding efforts. We speak to Missions for Taylorville, and they tell us their next steps in recovery. Missions for Taylorville is known for helping homeowners in need. Ever since the December 1st tornado last year, they've been instrumental in getting tornado victims the help they need. But some people didn't have insurance, so they had to find other resources. Reporter Symphony Sherman reached out to a local organization working to help those in need. Symphony?
Missions for Taylorville is one option for people who don't have money or insurance benefits to rebuild, and they've been working to help since day one.
I'm getting reports of houses knocked down with people inside.
I went out the next day and there was very few words that I could say. I mean, it was just unbelievable.
On December 1st, 2018, Barbara Wicker's home of 44 years destroyed by an EF3 tornado. The problem, her home was too old to qualify for insurance, leaving her without the means to rebuild. So she turned to Missions for Taylorville, a nonprofit organization which helps after tragedy.
We didn't know where we was going or what we was going to do. And when, I was told that, they was going to assist us, it was kind of just overwhelming.
Barbara didn't want anything else but her home rebuilt, which is what Missions for Taylorville is making sure happens. Just take a look at the progress in just a few months. It's being done by volunteers, Barbara and her fiancé, Greg.
Very excited to get it done so that we can be back home.
They're just one of the many families Missions for Taylorville helped, but the amount of help varied, whether it was removing debris from homes, getting rid of trees, minor home repairs, or total repair. Their volunteers were there.
It's been exciting to see where a place was, had a lot of debris, or the roof was damaged, or siding was damaged, whatever the damage may be, and now you can see it's now, they're able to just now live, go back to a normal life.
Over 100 homes have been repaired, but you can see they're still. Originally, Missions for Taylorville was implementing a phase 1 approach where people who needed help could get $5,000 for repairs. But then they started realizing a lot of people didn't have insurance and needed more money than that. So they implemented phase 2, where they actually fund a total rebuild. Back to you.
We're here with Reverend Ivanchek from the First Presbyterian Church of Taylorville, and this particular congregation, this church, really one of the first to step forward to actually support the cleanup.
Yes, actually the night of the tornado, within about an hour and a half of the tornado coming through, I had received some phone calls from a few members of our congregation, very service-minded folks, wanted to know what could we as the church do to help people. We immediately struck on the idea of serving people that would be trapped in their homes, or people that were out helping in the initial phases of the recovery. And did that for about a day or two.
How much food was actually donated?
We estimated about 250 to 300 meals. Again, some of those went to individuals who were trapped in their homes with no power, obviously couldn't cook. We also took some food to our local county sheriffs that were out patrolling the streets, local police, the emergency response center that was set up in the fire department. Even the next day, December 2nd, was quite cold, so sending something warm out to folks was the least we thought we could do for people helping us out.
I'm thankful for a brand new home, and we'll have a house to celebrate the holidays in this year.
Just being in a small community and everybody coming together just to help each other.
That we're still alive and we made it through it.
Keeping you safe in the storm. We explain the importance of a tornado siren and how they save lives. You know, as weather forecasters and meteorologists, we never like interrupting what's on television because we're viewers too. But we need to do that to bring you severe weather coverage. But it's just those measures and things like tornado warning sirens that keep people safe. Meteorologist Brian Sherman explains how a tornado siren works and why heeding the warning could save your life.
It's been 1 year since an EF3 tornado ripped through Taylorville, leaving a lot of destruction behind. And even with access to weather information at our fingertips, there's still one way that people get their tornado warnings that has been around for quite a while.
We can go back to the 50s and 60s. They were kind of civil defense, so somewhat old technology, and we try and take advantage of all the new technologies that we possibly can.
But that old technology is still grabbing people's attention when severe weather moves in, and it also has some people questioning when should these sirens be activated, and that depends on where you live.
The general guidelines are that we only activate the warning sirens when a tornado warning has been issued by the National Weather Service in Lincoln. Or we have spotters who have confirmed a tornado on the ground.
That's the rule of thumb in Vermilion County, which set off their sirens over a week ago after a report of a funnel cloud near Danville. But in Taylorville, it's a different story, after they've seen 2 rounds of touchdowns in almost 7 months.
We look at sustained wind speeds of 60 miles an hour because that's when damage can strike the buildings. And of course, a significant thunderstorm that could potentially produce, according to Weather Service, a tornado.
The criteria to activate these sirens is different for each community, and these sirens are meant for people who are outdoors, not inside your home. If you do hear the sirens, it means you need to take action.
And that's the idea. If you happen to hear the sirens outside, it would be to go to listen to your local media, shelter for at least 30 minutes until you have an all clear.
So when the outdoor warning sirens do sound, that's your cue that you should look for an alternative source of weather information, whether it's your television, radio, or even your mobile device. Reporting from our Springfield Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Brian Sherman.
Thank you, Brian. And we're in the Taylorville Fire Department right now talking with new Taylorville Fire Chief Matthew Aderman. And you were here during that evening, right?
Yes, right. Yes, I was.
Tell us a little bit about what you remember.
That evening I was working in the command center here at the firehouse. So I remember everything just going dark and the sound of a distant train coming past the firehouse, and then just dead silence for maybe a minute, and then all chaos broke loose.
Yeah, you'd actually fired off the alarms twice, right, that evening?
Right. The first one went off, and then as the storm approached, got closer and more severe, we made the decision to go ahead and set the second, another siren alarm on.
What kind of support did you give people afterward?
The support that we gave was mainly in through our EOC. At the time, our fire chief and the Christian County EMA, Mike Cruz, he set up the Emergency Operations Center, and they were able to pump out just everything from food, water, who to contact, and how to get a hold of who they need to get a hold of to help clear debris and start insurance claims and everything like that.
Yeah. Now, this is the first time for something like this for Taylorville. What type of planning now does it take? Now you know that the possibility and the potential is there for something quite catastrophic. What kind of precautions are you telling people about, and what type of precautions are you taking here with the fire department?
What we're telling people about is to be more in tune to the media, whether it's social media or any type of way that they can get information on what the weather may be doing that day, and pay a little more closer attention to it. We're also advising to obviously take our sirens seriously, and also look into a weather radio for their home so that they can have a more early notification.
Now, in the future, how is this affecting people, especially young children, older people? Whenever the sirens come out, we don't want people to go into a full-fledged panic, right?
We don't want them to go into a panic, absolutely not. I'm sure there are people out there that have, that brings back memories every time the tornado sirens go off. But the most important thing to take away from it is we're doing it for their safety, and we want them to act accordingly as soon as they hear it.
Most thankful to have our house back and that our family's together, alive and safe.
Having business back is good, so thank you everybody that came and supported.
For being able to have a new Christmas in our new house.
Coming up, more messages of thankfulness from members of the community this holiday season.
Thankful that God, Jesus, Mary, and Joseph, to everyone that this tornado affected. We're all still here. May not be up to snuff, but we're still here.
It's very thankful that everything has turned out and continuing to turn out okay.
This has been Taylorville Tornado 1 year later. We urge you during this holiday season to continue to support Missions for Taylorville and the work they do for the residents here locally. I'm Doug Quick. Have a great holiday season, and thanks for watching.